What is going on with the astrology this week? And does it have any bearing on the absolute unwinding of Blake Lively on the court docket in her lawsuit against basically the world at this point? Because it turns out she's also sent a subpoena against the creators of the lawsuitinfo.com website. I mean, it's Lively versus the world. And she's handing out subpoenas the way Oprah used to hand out cars. It's absolutely ridiculous. And her going after everyone around Justin. If you've noticed, people are saying you don't even hear Justin's name anymore. You don't hear about the SH. You don't hear about anything to do with him. Everything is an attack on those supporting him. And I think I can explain it. Well, I know I can explain it with the astrology this week. And this energy was being set up as we went into the week. So I wasn't really surprised to see Blake having an absolute meltdown. But we're going to break it down here today. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Ashley Brianna Eve. And for astrology, I combine three approaches: esoteric, Uranian, and Western. So I do have a little bit of a different view on things than a lot of people have. It may be for you, it might not be for you. But again, this all started yesterday, Wednesday, August 6th, around 7:30 p.m. Eastern, when our good friend here, Mars, moved over into Libra. This isn't a fun position for Mars. Mars doesn't like to be here. When we're looking at this kind of position, there's this big struggle because Mars is more assertive, in control, taking action. And Libra, of course, is all harmony and beauty. And there's kind of this vibe this week. I don't know if you've been feeling it. Do I destroy my enemies? Or do I make friends? Do I bury the hatchet or do I pick it up for another swing? And Blake Lively, clearly in the shadow of her Virgo stellium, has picked up the hatchet and she is swinging at everyone. She has lost the plot and she is swinging at everyone. And it doesn't surprise me because when I saw that Mars was moving into Libra this week, I knew we'd be seeing issues, not just in terms of celebrities, but for all of us in our lives, where we're all going to be asked, do we speak up? Do we walk away? Do we defend ourselves? What do we do? But with Mars in Libra, this is very much the energy of a courtroom. So seeing issues in courtrooms, no big surprise this week, but it's very much the energy of a courtroom, Mars in Libra, because you're going to want to assert yourself with that Mars energy. It's not very happy here. However, what you want to do this week, whether you are Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni, or just, the average person going about your life and wondering what the hell's going on this week, you want to let other people step in for you. It's really not the time to pick up the hatchet. It's really not the time to be defending yourself. And it's not necessarily the energy of being a doormat. It's not the energy of not taking responsibility for something or any of that, right? That's not the intent with Mars and Libra. If we use a courtroom as an example, the energy of Mars and Libra is very much like you hired a lawyer, let them do their job. You hired a lawyer, let them defend you. Let them have your back. So this week is very much a week where it's allowing people to take that lead and actually defend you. And I've been noticing an uptick as well as people defending their friends, their colleagues, etc., and having each other's back more this week. Like, I'm not standing around. I'm not allowing this to continue anymore. I'll speak up for them. That's the energy this week. And it's okay. You especially, feel like with this energy this week, but just in general for high performers, whether men or women, sometimes we can get into that energy of, I'll just do it myself, or I don't need help. Let other people help you this week. Let other people help you. So with that Mars Libra energy, it's definitely going to be with Blake. I think we're in Thursday and a Friday. She's going to continue pushing back. She's going to continue forcing and fighting anyone that is trying to defend Justin. Because Mars in detriment here, opposite its home sign of Aries, is really forced. Again, fight indirectly. Let people have your back. There's no need to go full throttle right now. But the shadow expression of this, because we're always going to have that exalted view or energy of it, or that shadow aspect of it. The shadow aspect is passive aggressiveness, which we know Blake's not good at that. She's just straight up aggressive. but starting fights, and I remember Libra, right? Justice, the scales, fairness, harmony, starting fights, at Mars energy, that aggression, the shadow, in the name of fairness or justice. But that fairness and justice is hiding the true motive. It's hiding your true intention. And I think that when we're looking at Blake Lively, more than anything, she's just exposing herself more than anything this week, because people are starting to say, girl, where's the SH? Did you forget? You're like coming after content creators. You're coming after Perez and Andy and Candace and 107 content creators you sent subpoenas to. Now you're coming for the poor woman that set up lawsuitinfo.com and is most bare bones basic bitch website, intentionally most bare bones basic bitch website. You're coming for everyone. That is the energy Blake's running with this week. But again, she has it under this fairness and justice, right? This is this distorted, crappy Mars energy this week. She has it under this fairness and justice, standing up for something, standing up for women, Me Too, Darvo. But shit, she doesn't even believe it. She doesn't believe it. Don't worry. She doesn't believe it, because she damn well knows what the actual motive is. And again, that's being exposed this week, because this shadow energy plays no games. And look at this. We have both Pluto retrograde as well as Pallas Athena retrograde in 5th house Aquarius. And Athena can be, I love Greek mythology, Roman mythology. I took a lot of those courses as electives in university. And I really like Pallas, because if we combine her with this Mars and Libra energy this week, it's strategic. That strategic leader of Pallas Athena is, I'm going to take this step back. I hired a lawyer to defend me. I'm going to allow the lawyer to defend me. The shadow of Pallas Athena, though, is kind of a shady bitch. Pallas Athena is the one that cursed Medusa. Medusa did not always have snakes for hair. She was a priestess for Athena, and she broke the vow of celibacy, and Athena went off the rails and cursed her. So Athena has that dark side, and especially with Pluto and the moon in the 5th house, that dark side has the potential to be coming out. When we add it on to Mars and Libra, which is a crunchy energy, it doesn't like to be there. It's going to come out in lashing out at others under the name of justice, under the name of fairness. Because Pallas Athena believed, well, you broke the rules, so I'm justified in this. And we're going to see this distortion coming out more and more. Shadow shit's coming out all over the place this week. I mean, we have Lilith, 2nd house, Scorpio retrograde. We have Persephone, 6th house, retrograde in Pisces. The dark goddesses are stirring up shit this week, but it's stirring up shit when we combine it with Mars in Libra. Are you going to look at yourself? Are you going to look at your shadow patterns? Or are you going to be still out here causing chaos? What are you going to do? The high road this week with this energy is going to be strategic partnerships and collaborations. You're really, and in your day-to-day life, I recommend looking at who are my true allies. You have an opportunity this week to be that strategic Athena, to look at the Persephone shadows. Where are you people pleasing? Where are you crossing your own boundaries because, you want to be seen or accepted at a certain table? It's going to be hard decisions as well. With Persephone, Lilith, and Pallas Athena, that dark goddess energy all retrograde. Y'all got to look at yourself, especially when all of us, I include myself in that, especially Mercury retrograde Leo. Where are you people pleasing? Where are you crossing your own boundaries for the wrong partnerships anyway? Where are you overthinking instead of acting? Or where are you impulsively acting rather than acting in an aligned way? Because this indecisiveness is going to mask or create resentment, not just for yourself, but other people this week. If you don't actually start doing what you want to do, if you don't actually start looking at those shadow patterns in communication and how you're showing up and the partnerships you have and aligning yourself better with them. So you have that opportunity to look at that this. Just a heads up, there's probably going to be stops in this. I tend to like to do astrology in one go. I get in my flow. I don't like cutting it, but I am home alone with the dogs and they are being a little bit of turds. So that you don't have to hear them yelling I'm going to pause when they're going off the rails. Okay, another thing I want to look at is Kronos and Hades. They are in Cancer conjunct Jupiter, oppose the moon. Moon's in the 5th house in Capricorn. Okay, for those that aren't aware of Hades and Kronos, Hades is rot, decay, the taboo, that kind of what's hidden, what's buried underneath. It's the shadow stuff. And Kronos is going to be your celebrities, public figures, politicians, that hierarchy. It can also represent planes. So when I did my reading on Hades and Kronos at the beginning of 2025, I had said there's going to be issues with planes. Not a good year to be flying. There's going to be issues with planes because Kronos is going to represent that altitude, and its placement at the start of the year was showing, y'all, there's going to be some issues with planes. And sure enough, there was. So Hades and Kronos in this position in the 10th house oppose the moon in the 5th house in Capricorn. Cancer too is going to be that public image. So if we're even bringing that over to Blake and Justin and Ryan Reynolds, y'all, shit's going to be exposed. And it might not necessarily, we're going to look at Saturn and Neptune that's going down tomorrow, the 8th. It might not be necessarily getting exposed this week, but it's setting the stage because there's a big tension. That opposition is going to be a tension, that push and pull, right? Tension between public power, personal safety, emotional self being challenged, and all that rotten filth that's really been hidden within someone's career coming to the light. Doesn't surprise me that it came out this week that Deadpool, the 4th one, has been shelved. Doesn't surprise me that some stuff's coming out about MNTN, Mountain, and Ryan Reynolds, how it seems to be doing better without him, because things are starting to come to the surface. And again, how this is really going to come to the surface is when you're in that Mars shadow pushing and being aggressive because you're just exposing yourself. I made a joke on Instagram yesterday and I said, what we didn't realize at the start of all this is when Brian Freeman said Blake was going to be, what did he say? Sued into oblivion or something like that. I don't know, something about oblivion. What we didn't realize is he was really trying to say, in my opinion only, that Blake was going to do it to herself. She's going to be sent out into oblivion by her own unraveling and her own undoing. And we're seeing that take center stage this week. But also when we're looking at this type of energy going into what's going down tomorrow, egos are going to be on display, but not just display, but with that Pallas Athena retrograde, those that are in the shadow of the masks are slipping. They're slipping. Y'all have nothing to fear if you're just being who you are. But you may have something to fear if you've been shady like Blake and pulling some things in the name of justice, and that might not actually be why you're doing the thing. Now we'll flip over to what is going on tomorrow, because we have massive, put on a big bra. I don't know, put on a good bra, put on a supportive bra, hold on to your moneymaker type energy, because I would say this energy going into the 7th, which is Friday, is probably the worst energy that we've had this year so far. From a media and narrative control perspective, what we know, if you've been here for a while, you know my background is also media, PR, marketing, branding. Fridays tend to be, and traditionally are, this news dump. There's this hope it's going to kind of sneak under everyone's awareness. It's moving to Thursday. Sometimes Thursday night, you're going to see news dumps. I'd stay eagle-eyed. Stay eagle-eyed, because I just feel like something, and it might not even be the Blake and Justin thing, but something's going to be coming out. Something's going to be sneaking under our awareness, or attempting to sneak below our awareness. Because this energy that we're going into on the 8th, which again, we've been feeling it coming into this week. It's not as though you snap your fingers and all of a sudden on the 8th, that's the energy. It's working up to that. But we could see here, look at all this retrograde energy. And I'm a big fan of retrograde. I've said a lot of good things about Mercury retrograde. I don't plan anything around Mercury retrograde. I love shadow work. I love that pause and really having to have hard conversations with myself and have hard conversations of where I'm out of alignment. So I love retrograde, But Mercury retrograde did me dirty the other day when my software wasn't working. Spent my whole 2 hours of content creation fighting with it, and then I just gave up. Originally, this video was supposed to be done on Tuesday. So we have a lot of retrograde energy this week. This is going to be tough. Saturn in Aries is called a hard placement because Saturn is going to be that judge and discipline. That's what we say in human design. Like Saturn's going to leave you alone unless you're off track. So again, like I was saying earlier, this week is very much you have nothing to worry about if you're on track, if you're willing to look at your shadows, if you're willing to deal with your shit, and also not pick up the hatchet and chase someone down just to get back at someone or just to have the last word or just because you're Blake Lively and you're doing shady shit. Allegedly, my opinion only. I don't need another subpoena. But that Saturn energy here, it's wanting to do impulsive shit in Aries. However, with Saturn and Neptune, there's really no bending, right? Sometimes you have a little bit of leeway. That energy is not happening for the end of this week. If you try to push something, it's going to break. And so that's why I keep saying that Blake's pushing her own downfall that we're seeing with Hades and Kronos in the 10th house opposed the moon. She's pushing this to the breaking point herself. This isn't going to help her. That Saturn opposed Mars as well. She likely, now it can go two ways. For someone like Justin, and I'm just using celebrities to illustrate how this can show up in your own life as well. For someone like Justin, or maybe you, if you feel as though someone is relentlessly misrepresenting you and relentlessly coming for you, and like, what is your problem? Back off. Like, I haven't been coming for you. Why do you keep coming for me? And you feel as though that energy is happening. Just use this energy again, take a step back, let other people defend you. Let other people deal with it for you. Again, not because you're a doormat, not because you don't take responsibility for things, but strictly because that's the energy this week. Guard your boundaries. Guard your peace. What's the saying? Unless someone's paying your bills, they don't have a say in what you do kind of thing. That's the energy we're going for. And you might feel that people are cutting you off or you're cut off from people. It might feel that black sheep type energy coming up or even that wound around that. I know even myself, most of my life, I've kind of been on the outskirts. I've been a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So I've never fully fit in at any table my entire life. And this week that might be amplified. If you can relate to that or you feel as though you've never fully fit in, you know, for example, we run a farm animal sanctuary, but I also have chickens. And so the farm animal sanctuary community would get pissed at me because I shouldn't have chickens and fancy chickens while having a farm animal sanctuary. It was just so ridiculous. That's kind of the thing, right? I've never fully identified as being fully in one group. I've always been able to see other people's perspectives, but it's always made me feel and often be an outsider. So if that's you this week, it's normal energy this week. It might bring up those wounds. The shadow of this is to attack people that think that, or that you feel have cut you off, or attack people, again, in that name of justice and fairness, that you think have wronged you. Maybe they're just not for you. There can be a lot of heavy energy, negative thoughts, negative feelings. The transit that we're going through is really going to demand that you see your life in a different light. More spiritual rather than strictly physical. You know, maybe start a meditation practice or something. Do something. Start to get connected with that inner authority. Start to get connected with something bigger than the immediate physical environment around you. But it is really going to challenge everyone this week to make hard decisions. And it's funny because just to share a story, I love sharing stories. That's something I've been facing this week with, and it's just incredible how the energy supports you in that. And here's the thing. There's free will. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to change your life. You don't have to make changes. The energy can support it. You can go on a bumpy roller coaster ride as the energy drags you along, or you can leverage the energy. So this week, I've really been sitting with that feeling of, 2025, I swore I wasn't talking about business anymore. I swore I was going to basically cut back until it was completely done, the business consulting side of my business. I got so tired of it in 2024. And when this case really picked up with Blake and Justin, I saw a way that I could really help people understand the headlines and what was going on behind the headlines. And somehow I got swept back up. If somehow it's my own doing, right? Should have kept my own boundary. The energy this week's reminding me, girl, you should have kept your own boundaries. But I got swept up in the world again. And it's not that I don't love helping people with business. It's not that I don't love and that I'm not exceptional, because I am really damn good at what I do, helping people create brands and marketing that feels good for them. But there was just this Saturn with Neptune oppose Mars and Libra energy this week, especially with Hades and Kronos in the 10th house. Is that what you want? You promised yourself that that wasn't what 2025 and beyond was going to do. You promised yourself that you were going to do something differently. And so there has really been this sitting in it and looking at those shadows again, Persephone, Pallas, Athena, Lilith in retrograde, looking at those shadows of, well, why do I keep repeating that pattern? Why do I keep going back? And yes, one, it makes sense. It's logical to go back because I've spent all these years building that business. It makes the most sense. But also what I realized is there really was that wound of wanting to be seen as smart, wanting to be seen as, I don't know. I don't really know the word I'm looking for with that, but almost as if there's more value or people will take you, there it is. People will take you more seriously if you're talking about things like marketing and branding than if you're talking about things like human design and astrology, right? And so I started to really sit with that shadow this week and have had to make really tough decisions. Do I continue this pattern or do I move forward from this pattern? And if I decide to continue the pattern, I really have no one to blame but myself, because now I'm aware of why I continue that pattern and why I'm doing it. So this week is setting you up for that. But it's not going to feel good. It never feels good. It's going to be asking you, why are you unhappy? Where are you off track? Where have maybe you been blaming other people? Where have you been impulsive? That Saturn and Aries energy, that acting impulsively, but blaming it maybe on your human design, or blaming it on your astrology, or blaming it on your ADHD, or blaming it on other people. It's really going to ask you this week, are you willing to take responsibility for your actions? And with the Saturn Neptune conjunction trine Mercury, which is retrograde, that's not a negative. It's an amazing time to reflect on that. An amazing time to reconnect with creativity and intuition and your dreams. What are your actual dreams, and where are you out of alignment with that? Where are you out of alignment with how you actually want to communicate? Create your business, communicate with your friends, your family. You can use this time to really reflect on that, or you can use this time to either avoid it, refuse to look at it, or feel hopeless. And again, there is going to be almost that pull for more negative thoughts this week. Or you can leverage the energy to sit with creativity and inspiration and really face those tough questions that kind of make you want to barf, that make you super uncomfortable. This is what Blake needs to do this week. This is what Blake needs to do this week. Blakey needs to have a snack, movie night with some friends that are willing to have the movie night be just reels and videos of her interviews with It Ends With Us, and be like, girl, we need to talk. We need to talk about these shadows and how you are fighting everyone in this name of justice. But maybe you were the problem. Maybe while they cook dinner, they can, have some Taylor Swift songs playing in the background or something. Maybe Karma would be a good one, or, some of her songs would be great songs to have in the background. But that's genuinely what Blake needs to do this week. Is she going to do it? No, of course she's not going to do it. Most people aren't, because it sucks and it's hard. And it sucks sometimes to start over, to quit the job, to restart all of that sucks. But you can sit there and feel sorry for yourself. Or you can leverage this time with Mercury retrograde to make the decisions, not impulsively with Saturn in Aries, like true embodied decisions. Because you can do hard things. This week's going to put you face to face in confrontation, not just with other people, but with yourself. Face to face with limitation, not just with other people, but with yourself. But sometimes, not sometimes, all the time, we need to really get to a tough time before we do what we need to do. Why? Well, even if we're not actually happy with the direction we're going, the known discomfort from a psychological perspective, the known discomfort is often chosen and feels safer than the unknown, which could bring happiness, which could bring whatever it is you're looking for, because it's unknown. So if you find yourself continuously going on about how unfair things are, how unhappy you are, and you keep finding yourself talking about your dreams and what you want, maybe it's a sign this week. Now, next week is going to be overall more chill energy, but we have to get through this week. And the only way next week is going to be more chill energy is if you're facing your shadows. That's the only way that you're going to find next week is going to be a better energy for you, more aligned energy, because overall, this is a very difficult week for facing what you need to face and what you've been avoiding. All right, my friends, that's what I have for you. The dogs are being a pain and not listening. Like I said, usually I have help at the farm, or at least someone at the farm to deal with the dogs, and they are just not, I even kept them really busy all day, hoping I could get a couple hours to create. Not so, they said, not today. So they're making it difficult. But anyway, let me know in the comments what you think. I would say that the energy was really setting Blake Lively up this week to choose her path. Are you going to go harder in the wrong direction, or you're going to loosen up the fight? You're going to bury the hatchet. And I would say this energy this week and how Blake is acting, I would also argue, I don't think her lawyers or her PR team or anyone is really calling the shots. I think Blake is. I genuinely don't think she's listening to anyone. And if she did listen with this Mars in Libra energy and let other people take over the fight, I genuinely don't think it would go so freaking horribly. I mean, she is burning in a magnificent display of self-implosion. She is displaying how to burn your business, your brand, your public image to the ground. It's wild. But if she had taken a step back and let her lawyers and the people she hired deal with it, we wouldn't be seeing such a shitstorm here. But it's a shitstorm because, in my opinion, based on the energy we're seeing, she's taking authorship. And that's going to be her own downfall. All right. I'm going to go. I hope you enjoyed. And with that, I'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave a comment on your way out. Bye, guys.